And here we go, live from Lightspeed VT in Las Vegas, Nevada. I'm Pat Williams. Wow, a video version of Ford Taylor Talks. As people have told us, you two have faces made for radio. What's up, Ford Taylor?
I'm telling you, I've been told that a few times in my life, but how fun is it to get to do one in this unbelievable facility with all these unbelievable people out here, and to offer us this room to get to do this. I'm excited about this.
Yeah, it's fun.
Thank you, PW.
Big shout to Brad Lee and Jason Straub here at Lightspeed VT. If you were looking for a training system, it's interactive, it's state-of-the-art. They do a great job here. If you need to get a hold of Brad or Jason, give us a call. Ford, we have had a lot of fun with AI. We're kind of old school guys, you know.
We are.
Take notes, you know, we don't use a lot of technology. But recently we've been asking ChatGPT some questions about the transformational leadership tools, and I think the responses have been pretty cool.
Well, you know, like every time y'all read me one, I break into tears. Have you noticed that? I'm just
You cry a lot.
I do. Well, you know, it's really cool to see how, a system like that can take all the things that have been said over all these years from all these different people and spit out an answer. And is it cool? Yeah, it is. But, you know, it's so humbling, you know, to see what all these people are saying. It does my heart good, but it brings a tear.
It's awesome. So I ask ChatGPT if we can just read one. Are you good with that?
Oh, you do it. This is your show, buddy.
So I said, hey, no, it's your show. I said, why do the transformational leadership tools and strategies taught and implemented by our friend Ford Taylor and his team work time and time and again? They're pretty, maybe I want to buy some products. Maybe I want to hire a consultant. Maybe I want to host an event. So I said, okay. And really what came out was awesome. So let me read it, okay? Mm-hmm. It says the transformational leadership tools and strategies taught by Ford Taylor and his team, especially using the transformational leadership programs and tools, work time and time and again because they're deeply rooted in both human psychology and practical, actionable behavioral change. Here's a clear breakdown of why they're so effective. So before we go into the breakdown, how does that initial kind of response hit you since this is your stuff?
Yeah. Well, you know, PW, for years I've been using this example of a leadership cake that everywhere I go, I find that people are smart, gifted, or talented in at least one area. And some people are that in multiple areas. And most people I meet, they really have big hearts. Now, if you watch the news, you're going to see the very small minority of people who don't. But generally speaking, people have big hearts. They care about the people next to them. And so the whole premise behind TL, starting 25 years ago, to be intentional this way, was around giving people those practical, implementable tools that help them change as an individual and then apply that in their organizations, companies, families, churches, schools, sports teams, to be able to help them produce high-performing teams wherever they are. So it's fun to hear that it does have the psychology side to help the individual, but it is very practical and implementable.
You know, as we met with some people here in Las Vegas, we're actually in Las Vegas shooting some new transformational leadership content. Basically, we're going to virtualize what Ford has been doing for years on a consulting level. We're going to put it on tape, get it on film. Kudos to Ford's wife, Sandra, who said, you better get this stuff on tape before you get too old to do it. Thought that was a lot of wisdom.
It was good feedback. Because, I'm going to age out at some point. I think she can see that. And, for her to say,
age out.
for her to
Tapping out.
For her to see, to say, honey, you need to stop and go do this. And what's fun, PW, is that, mostly when we go out and do this in organizations, we're, pretty expensive. And to be able to offer this to so many organizations, so many more that either may not be able to afford it or just, maybe shaky about bringing someone in. Consultants sometimes have a bad reputation, and we get told over and over again, you guys are not consultants, you're solutions providers. And so we like getting that feedback. But to be able to give these solutions on this platform at Lightspeed VT that's interactive and it still can be fun without a live person in the room, it excites me to be able to offer it to people who may not be able to bring one of our people in. Could be just strictly based on money. It could be based on geography. So yeah, it's been fun. Looking forward to the next steps.
That's fun. So I'm Pat Williams. This is Ford Taylor. This is the Ford Taylor Talks podcast. Ford, our tagline is love, influence, and transform. We're trying to get lit, stay lit. I'm going to guess, what is this, episode 68 or 69 or 70 or something? I don't know.
Yeah.
But we've done a couple of these.
Right. Yeah, I don't know what the number is. I could look on my phone and tell you because I keep up with it, but I don't remember what it is unless I look. So I told you I was about to age out, so don't be asking me questions like that.
All right, so here we are back on the ChatGPT train. So we asked ChatGPT a simple question: why do these tools work time and time and again? They gave us 7 really breakdown reasons. Reason number 1: why do the transformational leadership tools work time and time and again? And it says they focus on heart level change first. We were having dinner with some people last night who want to start utilizing these tools here in the Las Vegas market, and she talked about her and all of her training and everything she does starts at the heart first. So here we are. Boy, talk about being in alignment.
Yeah, absolutely. And it is about the heart. We say that you can't transform any organization. As you know, we talk about an organization as 2 or more people. It's a family, a marriage, a business. And we say that, even a city or a nation. But we talk that, you really can't see an organization transform without personal transformation first. And where does that start? Changing your thinking and changing your heart on how you see other people.
Number 2, they say the tools that we teach are simple and repeatable.
Well,
I can attest to that.
For anybody that knows about Texas A&M, that's where I went to school. And of course, there's lots of Aggie jokes in the southern part of the United States about how dumb we are. Now, what they don't know is we write those joke books, so we make all the money on them, but we don't tell them that part. But they are simple, and I say to people, it has to be simple for me to be able to use it, and so if I can use it, anybody can. So they are pretty simple.
Ford, what's the one? I mean, let's just dive in. You emphasize personal transformation has to happen before organizational transformation. That is kind of the genesis of all of this, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, and that's the starting point. If we can get people to realize that their way of thinking really determines how they feel, and how they feel is completely associated with how they behave. And so if we can get them to change the way they're thinking, in other words, there's their self-identities, their parts of their brain, the amygdala, the limbic system, the hippocampus, all that stuff that's stored in there, if we can get them to change that new knowledge, the way they think, guess what? They change the way they feel. If they change the way they feel, they completely behave. We completely behave differently. As you know, I was a very angry man at one point, and people that know me now will say to Sandra, he's exaggerating, right? And she'll go, no, he's not. But we want to show people how to do that. People talk about, don't be angry, or don't act that way, or it's important that you do this. But how many people show us how to get there? How do you not be angry? How do you change the way you think so that you change the way you feel? And so it's fun for us that we can give people the how and the who and the what, the when, the why, and the where. And when they implement it, it's fun to see that person change, and to see that marriage change, and to see that relationship between them and their children, and between the bosses and the employees with each other, next door neighbors. It's just really encouraging to watch that change take place right before our eyes.
So staying in this same heart level change first, it also says that when people truly feel valued, understood, and empowered, this is ChatGPT talking about the TL tools, they choose to change behavior. So it's not because they're forced, it's because they really want to.
Yeah, that's it. There's this quote that's been around forever, and about 100 people take credit for it, that change never occurs until the pain of staying the same exceeds the pain of change. I reword that. I say change seldom occurs until the pain of staying the same. And the reason that is because most people don't have the practical, implementable tools to know how to do that. But when they see it and they go, oh, I want to be like that, yeah, they choose to change. And that 1% or whatever that don't choose to change probably could have, most likely has some kind of illness, narcissism, bipolar. I mean, there's something going on that just doesn't allow them in their brain to be able to do it. But people in general, yeah, when they see it, they want it.
Staying on this, we focus on heart level change first. Lastly, it says the emotional connection is what makes the change sustainable over the long term.
There's no question, in this world, we can't do it alone. We all need people walking down the road with us. And the only way that happens is to build trust, to build trust between the people so they can trust each other to share a blind spot, to share if we got something going on that we don't really want to talk about, to be able to move to an area of vulnerability and transparency. And the more that we trust, the more we're vulnerable, the more we're transparent, the more that heart connection between people takes place. And when that takes place, they see the benefit and the power of 2 over 1. Well, then if you got a team of 10 or 12, you see the power and the benefit of 10 or 12 over 1 or 2. And this just, exponentially grows as the hearts connect at that level.
Ford, I know it happens, but how rare is it for someone who has really immersed and has been transformed? How often do they go back? I mean, why would you want to?
Well, years ago, PW, when I went through this change myself, I've got a sordid history of unbelievable success with a lot of failures, in my marriage and stuff. And thank goodness my wife forgave me. But, back when this happened with me, I was explaining to people that I fully believe that my brain has been rewired. In other words, I know that I don't think the same. I know I don't feel the same. I know I don't act the same. And people say you're different. And I was telling people back then, I don't think it's just an emotional change. I think there's a physical rewirement in the brain. And as you know, a lot of pastors and stuff accuse me of witchcraft over those comments. Well, then all this research came out about 8 or 10 years later called epigenetics. And it talked about how the brain can rewire itself. And the only proof I had was saying, look, I'm talking about me and a lot of people I've helped. And I would share with them, if you can lift weights and build up your muscle, then why, if you change your thinking, would it not change your brain just like a muscle changes your arm? And they just couldn't hear that. Well, now that the research is out that says, oh yeah, there's proof now that happens, it makes it a whole lot easier for people to hear what we're talking about because we now can back it up with research, not just teaching and training. And we do know that when people tried it, they would come back and say, oh, we get it now. But yeah, it was hard to hear back then, but it's fun now because that research, it bears it out.
So staying on this ChatGPT train, this is kind of cool that we pulled this up. I hate to keep saying that, but man, we've had some fun with this.
Well, you're the one
We're
that pulled it up.
all kinds of stuff, aren't we?
Yeah, you're the one that thought about it, and I thought, well, that's cool. Let's just see what it says. And I got to tell you, there's so much that comes back that I'm just, how do I say this? I am happily stunned.
Yeah, it's awesome. Hey, I don't want to break character or whatever, but how cool is this? Look at this backdrop. I mean, we're usually meeting on Zoom. You're just getting off the treadmill, sweaty in a hoodie. I don't know where I am, Starbucks or wherever. I can just come on, Pete. We got to do a podcast.
Yeah, people are asking, when's the next one coming out?
How cool this is. Yeah. Kudos and a big thank you to the team here at Lightspeed VT. Y'all rock. Yeah. All right, so ChatGPT. We said, why do the transformational leadership tools work time and time and again? So they also say, Ford, that the strategies are not complex. Just like you, not very complex. They're easy to apply frameworks like social covenant. We believe in emotional deposits and withdrawals, and we want to always put more in than we take out.
That's right. Well, one of the things we teach is we believe everything we teach is really simple, but not easy because we make it complicated. And we choose to live in what we call the river of complication. And so we swim in this muck that we stay in, but we also teach that once you cross this bridge that's over this muck, in other words, you're no longer swimming in it, you cross over it, that what we call the bridge of transformation, what's always been simple is now easy. And I think that's what ChatGPT is picking up on, that they are really simple and they can be easy tools if we choose not to make them complicated.
I love this next part. It says that you blend business acumen with emotional intelligence. Ford's leadership system ties together performance expectations, including some hard business results, with relationships emotional and cultural strength.
Yeah, it's just amazing that when we go into organizations, we find these same 9 constraints everywhere we go, and we found that when they overcome those 9 constraints, and we just talked about it when we were videoing, it has to be intentional. It's hard work. It's not by accident. But when they overcome those, what happens in the stress level in the individuals, the organization, trust goes up, stress goes down, emotional connection takes place. What happens? I want to be at work. With my clients, one of my goals for them is that on Friday nights, that their employees will come to the boss and say, I'm so glad it's Friday. I get to come back to work in only 2 days. In other words, we want them to want to go to their organization. And that's what these connections that ChatGPT is picking up on, that's what we want the outcome to be.
They say that leaders trained as TL, as a foundation, are trained to hold people accountable without shaming. A very rare and powerful leadership skill.
Yeah, one of the tools that we get told is so valuable is what we call the success/discipline model. And we teach people how to do discipline and to use this definition of discipline, training to elicit a certain pattern of behavior. And if the key is around training, what does it mean? It means if I'm disciplining you, it's all about you. It's not about me. It's about me helping train you be more successful. And so when you go about it that way, you do it with stories and questions. You don't do it with you did this, you made this mistake. We come into agreement with these questions. You made this mistake. You know what? I've made mistakes too. And we tell people, tell your story when you're doing a discipline model of the mistakes you made. Let people know you're human, be vulnerable. And then all of a sudden, any possibility of them feeling judged or shamed, it goes away because you've already shared the areas in which you've had to change. And you're not going to judge them. I mean, you had to make the changes too.
That's good stuff, Forty. ChatGPT says that that TL directly addresses issues like gossip, drama, blame shifting, lack of trust, and fear-based management. And we do that by giving teams a common language. Man, we talked about that a lot today, didn't we? And a clear process to resolve conflict. That our training breaks destructive cycles and replaces them with trust and collaboration. The words even sound better.
Yeah.
Trust and collaboration.
Yeah, I think I'm going to start using ChatGPT to write blogs and stuff. Maybe even do the podcast. I don't know if he does. Maybe
they'd be better than we
ought
are.
to make up him to even do this. But all this stuff they're saying that that is the outcome, and we're thankful, very thankful.
So, Ford, you've been traveling all around the country. You still consult with a handful of clients. I personally have a crush on one of your clients, not the owner, but the company. I'll make that clear. Jeff Ruby Steakhouse in Cincinnati.
Yeah.
I think that story is so powerful. Can you just share a little bit about, how you got hooked up with them? For those of you local to Ford and I in that Cincinnati, Ohio, Kentucky, Nashville market, obviously, know that name. But, I run across people all the time who visit our areas, and guess where they want to go eat?
Well, can you blame them?
Jeff Ruby Steakhouse.
I mean, have you ever been to a place that has a better experience?
Yeah,
I mean, have you ever
experienced
a meal from the food to the walking in the door to the service to the time you leave to parking your car? Have you ever had a better restaurant experience?
Yeah, we're a little spoiled. We went out to a new high-end steakhouse here in Las Vegas last night, and it was okay. And for someone that really hasn't eaten all the time at Jeff Ruby's, they might think that was really awesome. But I think we find ourselves, I use the word judge. I don't want to say judge.
I don't judge,
but
I notice.
Yeah, but we notice a lot of the little stuff that happens at the Ruby experience versus everywhere else.
Yeah. Well, as you know, when I met that family, I didn't even know I had met that family.
Yeah.
Okay. One of the guy named Caleb Miller came up to me after training and asked me would I consider being his mentor. And I think that was 2011. And I told him I'd get back to him because I'm a busy guy. Anyway, I called him back and I said, I think I'm supposed to do this. And as you know, PW, the only difference in me in mentoring and coaching is whether you get paid or not, right? So when you're coaching people, you're an executive coach. They're paying you when you're mentoring people. And I probably have as many mentees for sure as coaching clients. And so we continued down this path. And one day he came to our meeting and said, my wife and I would like to take you to dinner, you and Sandra, just to say thank you for all the work you put into me. And I said, sure, we'd love to do that. Love to meet your wife and love to go to dinner. And I said, when do you want to go and where do you want to go? And he said, well, maybe in the next couple of weeks. I said, yeah, we can pull that off. And I said, where? And he said, Jeff Ruby Steakhouse. And I said, well, I'm not going to let y'all spend that kind of money as a thank you. Let's go to Ruby Tuesdays or something. And he goes, no, we want to go to Jeff Ruby's. And I said, no, I'm not going to let you spend. They were in their late 20s at the time. I'm not going to let you spend that kind of money. And he goes, well, we're not going to pay for it. And I said, well, how are you not going to pay for it? He goes, Jeff, my father-in-law, Brittany, my wife. He goes, Jeff Ruby. And I said, all this time you've been talking about Jeff and Brittany? Because I'm not from Cincinnati, right?
Yeah,
I don't know all the history.
Well, really? You're not from Cincinnati?
I know, it's hard to believe. I got this Cincinnati accent and all. But anyway, and so he started dying laughing. And I thought he was laughing at me, right? And I said, it's not that funny. I'm not from here. And when he got his composure, he goes, no, he says, that's not what I'm laughing about. I said, what is it? He said, Brittany, my wife told me to be careful with you mentoring me. You may only be doing it to get to our family. She's going to die when she finds out that you didn't even know. And he said, I told her of all the people I've met in the world, this is a man that would never do that. So we go to one of their restaurants called The Precinct, and I'll never forget, we all walked in, and I think we were already at the table when they got there, and I stood up, and Brittany, his wife, who at the time was working at one of the restaurants, put her hand out to meet me, and she said, hi, I'm Brittany, and I understand I owe you an apology. I said, yes, you do, and I'm listening. So that was our introduction. And as you know, over these years, she's kind of moved all the way through the ranks. And, she asked me to mentor and coach her too. But anyway, she's moved through the ranks and is now the CEO of that organization. And PW, the one thing that we have found in everything we do, whether it's a marriage, a company, that when you find people that have brilliance and they have huge hearts and they learn to connect that brilliance with the huge hearts, they are limitless in what they can accomplish. And I'm fortunate to be able to work alongside that family because that's her. I mean, that's who she is. And they have other members that are the same way. So, they may call me a blessing. I feel blessed to be able to be around and work with them over all these years.
How long have you been working with them? Since 12?
I think I started with
Wow.
her since 12, and then somewhere in the late teens, actually, when she became president, she asked me to come in and work inside the organization.
Ford, is it safe to say that organization, obviously Brittany's leadership has been essential, but is it safe to say, or is it fair to say that they are fully immersed in the TL or the transformational leadership lifestyle,
yeah,
if you will?
She's very clear and open with the team. Everything for us begins with TL. I mean, she's very open with it. You're right. She's brilliant. Without it, they would still be successful. In her words, it's game changer. It made a big difference. And again, I'd rather her say those things than me. And she says it a lot. She's written a great book. And anyway, again, just wonderful family to get to work with.
I think it's, and we'll transition here, but I think one thing that always stuck out with me about her is some of her goals. One of her goals was to transform the restaurant industry, and one that from a culture standpoint, from an employee retention standpoint, didn't have a great reputation. I mean, it was full of stuff.
Well, that tool that we teach called VP MOSA, part of their VPM, vision, purpose, mission, is to transform the industry. And, when we get to what we call stage 5 teams, how do you know you have a stage 5 person, stage 5 relationship, or stage 5 team, or stage 5 organization? That means that you are now concerned about people and organizations outside your organization as much as you are your own. And I'm just telling you, that's her heart and her brain. And even during COVID, how she stepped in and basically might have, her and just a handful of people, saved a big piece, if not maybe the majority of the whole restaurant industry, by how she approached it with the government and stuff. And again, she wouldn't even like us talking about her like this. I mean, she would.
She's fearless.
She's fearless.
I know enough about her.
Again, but when you see an organization fully implement these things, and it's alongside the brilliance and the heart that they already have, it's just an acceleration.
That's awesome. Ford, we we get to do this. I'm fortunate. I'm blessed to get to sit here and host the Ford Taylor Talks podcast. Look at the lights, camera, action. This is cool.
Really?
Huh?
Are we going to have to move to Vegas so we can do this every
No,
week?
we're not moving to Vegas.
Okay, I guess not.
Hey,
Okay.
we're at the end of this podcast. Again, a big thank you to Bradley and Jason here at Lightspeed VT, all the staff. You guys rock. We've been here. This is our third day in the studio.
Yes.
Putting down some content,
Yeah. Well, it's our third day.
putting it on tape.
I'm pretty sure the people that are helping us will probably think it's like 2 weeks,
Get
but
these
it's the
guys
third. They're
outta
like,
here.
"Would y'all get out of here, please?" But no, they've just, as the end. 10 years ago, we came and did the leadership piece of what we do on this platform, and now that we're back doing the consulting leadership solutions piece, boy, how much have they grown? The people are still just as friendly as they ever were. So helpful. I don't like being in front of a camera. I mean, people that know me know that. And so for the encouragement that they give me if I flub or, just make it so much easier. Absolutely.
It's
And so
cool.
do you, my friend. So do you.
Hey, Knuckles,
Okay.
take us out of here.
Okay. Well, like I say, if you're listening and on this one, maybe watching our podcast, just remember that all of us, we're all human. We all make mistakes. But great leaders never stop learning. And by definition, leadership is about influence. And let's be honest, we all have influence. It might as well be a positive one. And so when you're interacting with other people, when our brains change and we change our thinking and we change our feeling, we change our behavior, that now impacts the people around us. And what happens when they see that? They see us being lit. And when other people and a large group of people are lit, what they see is they see a bunch of people who understand how to love, influence, and transform. So get lit, stay lit, come join us, love, influence, transform.
I'm Pat Williams. He's Ford Taylor. We'll see you next time on the Ford Taylor Talks podcast.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Ford Taylor Talks. For more information and resources to help you love, influence, and transform, please visit FordTaylorTalks.com.